Namaste. Most people who study the Stridharmapaddhatih or might be listening to these discourses will fall in one of the three categories. It is important to understand these categories so that we remain aware of where we are in our journey of understanding the Stri Dharma. It will also help us navigate some of the obstacles that we might face while studying the shastras. These three categories are traditionally known as the Uttama, Madhyama, and Adhama. Let's look at what the qualities of each of these types of aspirants are. The first category, the best, is the Uttama adhikari. Those who are of that nature, for them, it is enough if something is said by the great rishis of the Hindu parampara. They do not bother to question why it was said so, but they receive every word of the rishis as Veda Vakyam, as Guru Kripa, and immediately try their very best to imbibe it in their life. Through such deep faith in the shastras, they acquire the necessary experience through practice of the injunctions stated in the shastras. In fact, this category of people form the very definition of who we today refer to as Hindu. In the book Voice of God, Mahaperiyava has said, those who lived at the time of Adi Shankaracharya, they were not known by the name Hindu. That is a fairly recent name. So the original name of those who we call as Hindu, as per Mahaperiyava's word, is Smartha. And what is the meaning of Smartha? Smartha simply meant those who lived by the rules of the Shastras, the rules of the Smritis. These are the texts which we know today as the Manusmriti, the Yajnavalkya Smriti, Parashara Smriti, and the various other Dharma Shastra texts. So, the true Smartha, who we today refer to as a Hindu, is one who will accept the instructions of the Shastras and put them into practice, by virtue of which they will understand this knowledge. So for such listeners or such readers of the Stridharmapaddhatih, you need not worry yourself with the deep and vast interpretations given. For you, it is enough if you read the Sanskritam verses and the English translation and put it into practice. Through that alone, you will attain the deeper knowledge of what is there in this text. Those who don't fall in that category, those who are in the Madhyama level, we tend to have the habit of asking why. Even though we trust that it is the sacred text, even though we know that it is coming from the mouth of great enlightened rishis of our parampara, we still have this curiosity of, but why are they saying this? It is for those of you that the detailed interpretations and scientific explanations have been provided. You may go through that very thoroughly. To help you in understanding these interpretations, the first text you should have already read is Rituvidya. That's because the basic knowledge of the human body, the knowledge of the Panchabhutas, the Tridoshas, the Panchapranas, all this is given in Rituvidya and is not explained again in Stri Dharmapaddhatih. So if you have studied Rituvidya already, you will have the necessary base with which it becomes easy to understand the reason behind the explanations of the verses given in this book. In many places, we have also used the language of modern science to add to the explanations given based on the Bharatiya Jnana Parampara. In that case, you may have to further study the relevant technical subjects pertaining to modern science. Yes, it is quite a lot of homework to be done, but that should make us realize that the Shastras are not so simple and easy to understand. It takes a lot of knowledge and effort on the part of a true seeker to be able to explain this. And the reason is because the rishis said most of these things have adrishta reasons. Adrishta means that which you can't perceive through your direct senses. You can't see it, you can't hear it, you can't know it by touch or taste or smell. So how do you know it then? The first and the direct experience of adrishta reasons comes through a lot of inner sadhana, cleansing of the mind, finishing off of one's vasanas, and over and above anything else, Guru's anugraha and Devi's ichha. So even after one has studied all the theory, it may happen that you still don't understand it completely. Just take that as a sign that it is better to try and be like the Uttama adhikari who accepts the words of the shastras on faith and then practices it. And by practice, they may receive the necessary anugraha to directly experience and then know the words of the shastras. So this is for the second category, the Madhyama adhikaris. The third is what they call the Adhama. Here, we may read and study this text like one of the many things we're reading and studying as part of perhaps academic interest or just as we today call it, FYI, for your information. Just curious to know what is Stri Dharma. I don't intend to put it into practice. It could be that sort of an attitude, or it could even be those readers who are desirous of implementing what is there in Stri Dharma, but their current circumstances do not permit it. For example, stridharmapaddhatih begins with vivaha as the primary sadhana, as the first samskara. It is equivalent to the upanayana samskara of men. But there could be young girls who are not married yet, or even slightly older women who for various reasons are unable to get married. There could be those who are divorced or separated or going through a bad marriage. In all these circumstances, be aware that your mind does not force you to manipulate the teachings of the Shastras. What is meant here is that it is natural human tendency that when we hear something, but we are not living our lives in accordance with it, we will tend to twist the truth for it to suit ourselves. Because real, genuine spiritual growth comes through introspection. And introspection is a very difficult process. To avoid that, we will tend to dismiss the Shastras or somehow twist and manipulate it. If that is a tendency that might unknowingly come up in your mind as you read through the Shastras, be aware. In all such circumstances, there's a simple thing we need to do. Just remain conscious that whatever has happened to you in your life till the point you understood what is dharma was just your prarabdha karma playing out. Prarabdha karma has to play out for it to finish. There's nothing you can do about it, not much you can do to prevent it. So forgive yourself for those circumstances. And from this moment on, have at least the desire to follow dharma and seek the anugraha of the Divine Mother so that you're able to walk in that path. To understand these three categories, we can take the example of the Bhagavad Gita. It is said that when Sri Krishna was narrating and giving the discourse on the Bhagavad Gita, the listeners were not just Arjuna, there were three listeners. Again, these three falling into those three categories. The Uttama listener was Hanuman, who was seated on the dhwaja of the chariot. Everything that Sri Krishna spoke, he absorbed deeply with complete faith and trust and shraddha. It became one with him. He was the Uttama adhikari. The other, the Madhyama, was Arjuna. He had some faith, he had good intention, many things he still did not understand, and he asked and learnt and then decided to follow it and sought the blessings of Krishna to be able to do that. And who was the third? That was the distant hearer, Dhritarashtra. He was the one who heard everything but did nothing. So be careful not to fall into that category. And even if you do, just bring awareness that, oh, this is where my mind is tending. Therefore, let me put in extra efforts to seek the divine anugraha to be able to walk in dharma. Reading the stridharmapaddhatih is just one part of the story. Being able to trust the words of the rishis comes with the samskaras of those who are born in a Hindu family. So be grateful for that. And even after that, to be able to practice this, put it into practices entirely through the grace and the blessings of the rishis who wrote this text and the Divine Mother. So at every point of studying this text and listening to discourses on it, sit with an attitude of reverence. This is not a casual book, and these are not casual talks. The way one should receive such knowledge is beautifully described in the Bhagavad Gita in this particular verse. Shraddhavan labhate jnanam tat paraha samyatendriyaha jnanam labdhva param shantim achirenadhigacchati. Those whose faith is deep and who have practiced controlling their mind and senses attain divine knowledge. Through such transcendental knowledge, they quickly attain everlasting, supreme shanti, peace. The study of the Stri Dharma Paddhatih can have a similar impact on you and propel you in your adhyatmic journey. So sit in silence with your mind not engaged in other activities and with all your sense organs under restraint. May the divine anugraha help you experience the Stri Dharma Paddhatih by the blessings of the very rishis who compiled it. Shri Matre Namaha.